Good morning, everyone. Lovely to see everyone here. I'm going to talk to you today about how we go about building a strong employer brand. Where everyone's struggling to recruit talent at the moment, and so holding on to your existing talent and obviously finding those rare gems out in the market is a big challenge for everyone. So off we go. So I thought I'd just kick off with a few stats, which kind of just help set the scene a bit. So 78% of job candidates say that the overall candidate experience that they get, they see as an indicator of how a company values its people. So that just goes to show that kind of how you treat people throughout the recruitment process itself is kind of a real indicator of your employer brand. 84% of job seekers say the reputation of a company is important when deciding where to apply. Half of candidates say they wouldn't work for a company with a bad reputation, even if they had a pay increase on the table. 64% of consumers have actually stopped purchasing with a brand after hearing news of how a company potentially treats their employees badly. So that just goes to show that, your employer brand can actually have wider impacts on your business and how that's performing and how that's resonating with your clients as well. 73% of CMOs say investing in their employer brand is an important priority over the next 6 months, which is great to hear. And kind of a whopping 92%, excuse me, of people would consider changing jobs if offered a role with a company that already had an excellent reputation, which is fantastic because that's doing half the work for you. So what is an employer brand? Let's just kick off with that. It's not your corporate brand. Let's just say that. It's not your corporate brand. It's not your personal brand. It's another, I guess, character in the story of your business. And your employer brand it's basically your company's reputation as an employer. So it's what your current, your previous, and your potential employees all say about you when you're not in the room. So what are they saying to their peers? What are they saying to their family and friends? That's kind of what your employer brand is. And it's made up of a number of things. It's your reputation. It's how you engage and behave during the recruitment process. It's your communication, both internally and externally. It's your talent, and it's your corporate identity. So there's a number of things that all make up and influence your employer brand. And why is employer branding important? Well, firstly, a strong employer brand helps you attract and retain the very best people. And ultimately, that's what everyone's here today for, hopefully, is that's what you want to be achieving. And fundamentally, having the right people who are going to thrive in your business is going to help it succeed and to grow. So it's an important business decision. It's not just, some kind of fluffy idea over here about, well, let's just try and kind of sound really nice to employees. It's about really helping your business thrive, which makes it, so important. So how do you get started on an employer brand? Well, the first thing that I would recommend to any company going on this journey is conduct an audit. And there are two really important things that you need to look at when you're conducting that audit. The first thing is, okay, what are you already saying and doing? So what are you saying on your website, on your career pages? Do you have an applicant tracking system in place? And what is the journey that people are going on through that? What is their experience? What about your communications? How are you writing your job adverts? Acceptance or rejection letters? How are you conducting your interviews? What's your social media presence like? How are you onboarding new starters? How are you conducting performance reviews? There's everything that's already going on. Look at what you're doing and saying, and how are you then coming across? So do that audit and see kind of where the land lies now. The second most important thing is to get some feedback. So ask your employees, ask your candidates how they really think and feel about you. And you can do that in a number of ways. If you're a large organization, you probably go about it in multiple kind of ways. You can use focus groups. You can do one-on-one conversations, which is going to give you a lot more in-depth feedback. You can obviously ask a lot more in-depth questions, but it's a lot more time consuming. You can obviously conduct surveys with your staff and kind of get kind of, you know, information, feedback en masse. And like I say, kind of if you're a big company, it's a good idea to kind of maybe look at a cross section of those things to really kind of get a feel and say, okay, actually, what is going on? What do people think and feel of us? Because it's all very well us sitting here saying, this is what we think we are, but actually, is that the reality? So do that audit and really find out what's going on. And then once you've done that, then you can go on to ask yourself 4 quite important questions. So which positions do you need to fill both now and in the future? And that's going to require looking at the business strategy. What are the goals that the business is trying to achieve? And what talent do you need in place now and in the future to help your business achieve those goals? So kind of think about that. Think about who's your ideal candidate based on those roles. So what skills do they need? Where might they be based? What interests them? Because then you know how to talk to them, how to reach them, what sort of content you're going to be producing. And think about where they might be looking for that information, because that's going to determine what channels you use and kind of where you put your messaging out. So think about all your ideal candidate and kind of build out some loose candidate personas so that you have that understanding in place. Think about what makes you an exceptional employer. You know, what makes you different? And then you can go on to think about, why would your ideal candidate want to work for you as a company? What's going to make them want to work for you versus your competitors? If they went to work for your competitors, are they going to be regretting it and saying, I wish I'd gone to work for those guys? So think about what's going to make you stand out and be different. And there are some really important things that you have to consider kind of when you're going through an employer branding, putting an employer branding strategy together. So think about, firstly, what are you actually trying to achieve? What are your goals? Is it kind of having more applicants and attracting more talent? Is it simply kind of increasing your presence in the market for kind of longer term hiring? Is it reducing your time to hire? Is it reducing your cost per hire? What is it that you're trying to achieve? So always have that in mind. Think about the channels that you're going to be using. How and where are you going to be promoting your brand? Is it going to be on your website? Is it going to be across your social channels? Through your job adverts? And think about you know, how you're going to go about that. Is it going to be written content? Is it going to be video content? Is it going to be a mixture of both? So give all of that some consideration before you kind of start the process. And remember that every single touch point within your organization will be leaving an impression on your candidates and on your employees. So that could be your recruitment process. You know, are you acknowledging all applications that are coming into your business? Are you giving timely feedback following interviews? What's your onboarding process like? Is that giving a really good impression to kind of your new starters? With your existing employees, how are you treating the person who comes to you with some mental health challenges? How are you supporting them? How are you communicating with them? Someone goes off on maternity leave. Are you in touch with them when they've had their baby to wish them congratulations? Are you managing that process of them coming back to work? Because these are all the people that might be having those conversations. Remember, you know, we all know those people who said, you know, well, you know, I went off and I didn't hear anything from my employer, or perhaps they came back to work and, well, they supported me a bit, but actually then just the workload got put back on me and I was just stressed again. So remember that every single touch point and your culture as a whole is going to be kind of impacting on the experiences of your employees and your kind of candidates. And these are your ambassadors. These are the people that are out there talking about you and hopefully referring you on to other potential people. So you want kind of those lasting impressions to be good ones. And as we've kind of already alluded to, so, you know, it's really important to include your staff within this process of putting together an employer brand strategy. you kind of want them to be involved as much as possible. So whether that's giving you feedback on your culture and what it's like to work for you as a company, or whether that's getting involved in the communication externally of what they love about working for you. Make sure your staff are involved, because then it's going to be more authentic, it's going to be more realistic. And ultimately, people love to hear from people more than they do from companies. So kind of potential new talent is going to buy into that a lot more if they can hear from your current staff. And also think about measurement. So how are you going to measure to know that you're succeeding and what you're doing is working and that you're actually achieving the goals that you want to do? So just kind of give all that some thought. So I thought we'd take a look at some quick common mistakes that can be made when going through an employer branding process. So hopefully not the case for anyone here today, but certainly kind of thinking it's not important. Just thinking we'll just put a job advert out, or that'll be enough. Or thinking that well, we've got a really strong corporate brand, so why would we need that's enough, we don't need to invest in the employer branding side. And that's kind of a really dangerous trap to kind of fall into. Also thinking too short term can be a mistake. Your employer brand is not a one-off campaign. It's not a, well, we just need to make these 5 hires now. It is really taking that long-term approach, investing the time in it to kind of make it work in the long term for you. Because ultimately, just as the same as you would with your corporate brand, you want to be investing in your employer brand, so that you're planting the seeds with people, so that they get to know you before they even know that they might want to work for you, before they even know that there's a job opportunity there for them. You want to be positioning yourself as that, employer that they want to work for. So that takes a long time. That takes a lot of build up. It takes a lot of seed planting. So don't think too short term with it. Not allocating enough budget, whether that's investing in kind of how you're going to communicate, whether that's having the people in-house to deliver this properly. So whether that's a marketing person and a HR person collaborating, giving them the time and the resources to do it, or whether it's actually employing an employer brand specialist who's going to sit and deliver this for your organization. So investing enough in it. Not being authentic, trying to be something you're not. It's kind of one of the easiest traps to fall into, is to sit there and say, this is who we are and this is what we're doing. And actually the reality is that when people join your company, they don't find that to be true. You're going to have a much higher staff turnover and ultimately kind of, start kind of building up a negative reputation. So be authentic, find out what, though, based on that audit and that feedback from staff and candidates, if you need people to work long hours and you want people to be at their desks 8 till 6, own that and admit that, because ultimately you're going to attract the right people. You might attract less people, but you'll attract the right people. So being authentic from the start about, whether you're offering flexible working or not. Don't say that you are if you're not. So be authentic, be true to yourself as a company. Having a top-down approach. If it's kind of the top level that are saying, this is who we are, this is what we stand for, this is our values, but actually that's not reflected on the ground, then that's a big mistake. So again, talking to your staff, realizing actually what's going on and who you are as a company, and make sure it's infiltrated throughout the organization. Not reviewing and evolving your employer brand strategy. So this isn't a one-time thing that you do. You don't kind of set, do your audit, set who you are, find out who you are and communicate that, and it's done. You need to continue review and evolve it, because as your business changes, your business grows, your values and who you are as a company and what you stand for may change. And so you need to make sure that it's a continual process and that you are kind of reviewing that and being true to yourself. A lack of creativity. Everyone's struggling for talent, and it's no longer enough to just go out into the market and say, we're hiring, because ultimately candidates want more than that. They want to know, they want something meaningful that's going to resonate with them. They want, it sounds fluffy, but they want to feel it. They want to see that when they're going to make that move to work for you as a company, that it's really the right move for them, that there's more there going on. The pandemic and lockdowns, I think, have changed what people want from their careers. It's no longer about salary and benefits. Those things are important, but people want more as well. They want more from their jobs. So kind of think creatively about who you are as a company, and kind of let that personality come across. Use that personality in your campaigns and your messaging. And avoiding online reviews. Everyone hates a negative review, don't they? It's everyone's worst nightmare is a disgruntled ex-employee writing a bad review on Glassdoor. But avoiding it is actually one of the worst things you can do. Actually, it's not a bad thing to respond to a negative review. And actually, I've put a stat here that 62% of job seekers say that their opinion of a company improved after seeing it respond to a negative review. So don't be afraid. Let's just kind of tackle these things because they're out there, and it's best not to stick your head in the sand about it, perhaps. And then just some of the benefits that come with employer branding. So by having a really strong employer brand in place, you can reduce your staff turnover by about 20 up to 28% in some cases, which is significant, particularly within the recruitment industry. If you think about kind of, quite a lot of firms struggle with high staff turnover. Obviously, kind of if you're out there pushing your employer brand and people see you as a desirable place to work, you're going to drive inbound applications to your organization. So people are going to come to you and say, I want to work for you. Here's my CV. Have you got anything? Rather than you having to go out and search for people. So that can only be a great thing. And comes with that is that helps contribute to up to a 50% reduction in your cost per hire. Again, because, if you've got people actively coming to you, it saves you having to advertise on job boards as much, perhaps use other rec-to-rec firms or potentially kind of headhunters to go out and find these people for you. So that can all help contribute to that reduction in cost. You tend to get better qualified applicants with a strong employer brand. And you also tend to find that you have a faster time to hire by 1 to 2 times. Again, because these people are already primed and warmed to you, it can be a lot quicker to kind of, get them on board. So after that whiz bang through kind of everything employer branding, here's just some kind of takeaway tips that kind of help sum everything up. So firstly, give your employer branding strategy the time and investment it deserves. So really invest in it, really put the effort into those kind of foundations of the audit, of thinking about who you are and what you stand for. Put all those kind of good things in place and really kind of invest in it. Think about what makes you different. So, your employee value proposition, what is it that's going to make people want to work for you? And again, be authentic. Don't be something you're not. It's going to be one of the biggest stumbling blocks otherwise. Remember to engage your employees, keep them involved, ask for their feedback, make sure they're fully involved in the process at the start, in the middle, at the end. Keep them there the whole time. And you'll find that helps you achieve that authenticity as well. And lastly, like we said, get creative, show your corporate personality. Make sure that you're kind of trying to stand out from the crowd, have fun with it, really show kind of what you're like to work for, and that will help you to attract the right people for your business, which is going to help you succeed and grow and thrive. And that's everything from me.
Thank you so much, Kat. That was such an interesting presentation. And I think some of the key things you said there was so absolutely apt, and obviously what a lot of recruiters are looking for at the moment. Some of the things that I pulled out of there were, be true to yourself, the top-down approach from branding as well. And I know one of the things that we've done over the last 3 years is massively increase productivity because of that branding. And it's so important. I also think one of your points about those online reviews are really good. We had a really bad online review the other day from someone called Bruce Wayne on our Google reviews, and we have 5-star reviews all the time. So rather than getting upset about it, I just replied back and said, all of our educators are superheroes. You kind of make a bit of jest about it. And if you're not pretending to be Batman and you're not fighting crime, then, come and contact me. And it is, you need to kind of put a bit of light and humor into that as well. But just thinking about online reviews, have you got any ideas for people that are listening about maybe if they're not getting a lot of online reviews on Google and Glassdoor, some of the things that they could do to kind of get those online reviews going?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, I hear a lot of chat from people about should we be on Glassdoor, should we not be on Glassdoor, because I think it evokes a general fear in people sometimes. But I think definitely kind of, you know, encourage your staff as much as you can to kind of try and leave, you know, positive reviews for you. You know, if you're giving a really strong candidate experience as well, there's no reason why you couldn't potentially kind of ask those people to leave you reviews on Google and things like that. You know, even if people haven't ended up working for you, if you treated them well throughout kind of, you know, all of your recruitment process, quite often that still leaves people with a great impression, even if ultimately you don't get the job. You know, you might be saying, do you know what, I didn't, but they were fantastic all the way through. I'm happy to leave you a Google review, or, you know, whatever it is. But definitely kind of encourage your staff to kind of leave reviews as well about what it's like to work for you. You know, give you those testimonials, and kind of make it part of a regular thing that you do, those kind of cultures. And everyone loves an incentive in recruitment, so you can always incentivize them to do it.
They absolutely do at the moment. Well, thank you so much, Kat, for a brilliant presentation. Absolutely fantastic.